evening and a warm welcome to the Blacknificent show. You are with your host, Difference Mabasa, and we are bringing you another spotlight edition of the Blacknificent show where we bring out black excellence and put it on the spotlight for everyone to see. And tonight, I'm joined by an amazing talent, Tshepiso Makwimbila, who was part of the South African national volleyball team. And we'll be exploring a story just to find out more about her journey, how she made it all the way to the top, and some of the challenges that she might have experienced. Tshepiso, welcome to the Blacknificent Show. Just introduce yourself to our viewers and the Arise Black Child family. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tshepiso Makwimbila, and I come from a very small town named Nabomspruit. I am a very young, talented girl who actually loves sports. I grew up loving sports more than anything, even more than my books, just to be honest. Yes, so today I'm gonna be sharing my story and my journey with you all. And thank you for having me tonight.
Just thank you. So, volleyball, let's start. How does one get started? And with your journey personally, at what point did you become interested? And what was it that sparked that interest in you to say, this is the sport I want to play? At what age? What happens? How do you arrive at that decision to say, I want to do this?
Okay. In my location, we used to have netball practices, but then we never used to play to other places or to other provinces. But then this other time we went to practice, it was me and my best friend. We went to netball practice, and then when we got there, there was no one. And then we looked up, then we saw this other coach. His name is Coach Prince. And he was teaching some kids volleyball. And then me and my best friend were like, let's go and try that sport. It seems interesting, like it looks interesting. And she was like, okay, fine, let's go. And then we got there, and then first day, to be honest, it was hectic. It was just horrible and terrible. And then from that day onwards, we just told ourselves that we're not going back anymore, because like our head was so sore and everything. Like, I'm not going back anymore. And then the following day, we missed the sport. We're like, no, let's go back again. We went back, and then our love for volleyball started developing, you know, and then netball just came out of our system. And then we started loving volleyball at the age of 11, 12. When I was still in primary school.
Well, that's amazing. And I think maybe one thing I want to highlight from what you say, like, because this seems like it was just by a coincidence, right? You went for netball and there's no one there, and then you find yourself playing volleyball, and you end up becoming very good at it. And maybe sometimes for people that still want to discover their passions and their talents, sometimes it might happen accidentally, like it did with Tshepiso. So how did it become more formal then? Did you sign for a team, and then there's formal training? How did the journey start as soon as you fell in love with the sport?
Okay, after falling in love with the sport, I joined a Tigers team at home. It was a Tigers team, but then for juniors. So we played there, but then we never used to go out for like trips or something. And then this other time, when I was in grade 8 or grade 9, I went to Polokwane with my coach. Like, he just wanted to show us how interesting volleyball is, and for us to fall more in love with it. And then we went there, and then from that day onwards, I was like, this is my sport. I want to do it. And then I got disrupted because of my athletics. I was actually multi-talented. I was doing netball, volleyball, and athletics. And then I got distracted from my grade 9 up to grade 11. And then when I went to Settlers Agricultural High School, I met this other coach named Tao. This coach told me that I look fit. I was like, yeah, I am fit. And then he said to me, do you play volleyball? Do you know volleyball? I was like, yes, I do play volleyball and I know it, but then it has been a long time not playing it. And then he said, I would like to give you an opportunity to join a team, and I want you to be part of the Limpopo volleyball team. And I was like, oh, okay, this is actually interesting.
Yeah.
Fine, I will come and join the team. And then he took us to a camp. And that's where I met very interesting ladies who actually play well. And my love for volleyball came back again.
Yeah.
You know, and I went for Limpopo trials, and then I got selected. Then from there onwards, I played for Limpopo team at Bloemfontein. And that was actually my first huge game ever.
Yeah.
I never thought that in my life I will actually have such a big, huge crowd looking at me playing. And then from then onwards, yeah, I had some challenges here and there, you know, because, you know, like in every sport, when you are perfect in something, there's just going to be some other challenges of people not liking you, and you will have to adapt to that environment. Yes.
Yeah. And we'll zoom more into some of those challenges, right?
Yes.
And for me, what's amazing is, you know, you fall in love with this sport almost by accident. You start playing it, and at some point you forget about it. You get distracted by other things, and maybe you were not as passionate about it anymore. And then later on, someone just sees you and asks you a very simple question. You know, do you play volleyball? And yes, and you end up in the provincial team. So for me, my question is, did you think that you were going to make it that far? We're going to talk about how you ended up in the national team, but during those years when you were not playing anymore, did you have an idea in mind that you would end up representing the provincial team, and eventually going into the national team and traveling outside of the country, representing your own nation?
To be honest, not really, because I actually loved netball and athletics, but then not more than volleyball. But then since there were more opportunities in athletics and netball, I was seeing myself huge in those sports and not in volleyball. Volleyball was like, okay, it's fine, I'm just playing. But then the most sport that I love, it was netball, and I got to provincials and all of that. But then the only position that I didn't get was the national one. So I was always fighting for that position, but then I couldn't. And then I found myself in the volleyball, joining the provincial ones, and I also ended up in the national one.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting story that I want us to look at, you know, towards the end, as to how you made it into the national team. I don't know volleyball that much, but in my mind, for one to play volleyball, you must be tall, you must maybe have a bigger physique. Tell me, was that a challenge for you, and how did you overcome it, and how did you become so excellent when, you know, we think that people who play volleyball should be tall so that they are able to catch all the balls and all of that?
Okay, to be honest, it was very challenging because in my provincial team, I was actually the shortest, and it was actually intimidating in a way, because now when a coach have to choose someone, he actually thinks twice, like, Tepiso is short, but then those blockers, because we have blockers, so some blockers are tall, and then me, I'm short, so I have to be covered by someone else. So my advantage was that I jump high, so I must practice how to jump high most of the time when I'm at practice, so that can be my advantage to be in the team. Yes. So we don't have to be tall all the time.
But what position did you play, and what position did you excel the most in? I don't even know the different positions that are there, but where did they place you? What was your best position in the team? One that you enjoyed playing the most?
My best position was an outside player. And in volleyball, we actually call it power. So I was playing power. Yes.
What does someone in that position do?
She or he is a spiker. So you spike the balls, the setter set the ball for you, and then you spike the ball.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So like your work is it's just to hit the ball, hit the ball.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see. That is quite interesting. So you play for the Limpopo provincial team. Can you maybe just share some of the memories that you have, competitions that you went to, losses and wins that you still have in your memory during your time in the provincial team?
Okay. My first one, like
Yeah.
the first one that I went to, it was actually nice. You know, for the first time going away via sport, it was the best moment ever.
Yeah.
We went to Bloemfontein. We met other teams there. I didn't know that people from Cape Town or from KZN can actually love volleyball to that extent, that we all meet there and everything. So when I got into the team, okay, like we have the first 6 in the volleyball team.
Yeah.
So the coach have to choose the first 6.
Sure. So it's 6 versus 6.
Yes.
Okay.
So the first games I was not chosen because I was actually nervous. So volleyball doesn't want you to be nervous.
Yeah.
So you have to calm down and play your game and do your part. And I remember this other time where my coach came to me and said, "Tapiso, are you ready?"
Yeah.
I was like, I think so. It's like, no. You don't have to think so. Are you ready? Like, we need to win. It's like, I'm ready. And then I just got into the court and everyone was screaming. I was like, is this really me? Am I actually doing this? And it was just the best moment of my life. And then from there onwards, I went to Polokwane and then I joined this other team called Spikers team.
Yeah.
And from that team onwards, like that team actually groomed me. It showed me that everything is possible. As long as you believe in yourself, you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I ended up being this best spiker out of nowhere. And then that's where I was actually chosen to go to the national team.
All right, before we get to, I think that's my favorite part because I want to explore some things there from your national team experience. You were nervous and you were not selected at first, right? So maybe that talks to how you've always been as a person, I don't know, but how did you overcome that anxiety and that fear that you had and ended up becoming a very confident player? Because I think that's a story everyone can relate to, you know, regardless of what your area of speciality is. You know, I did poetry, for example. Standing before people for the very first time was very nerve-wracking. So for you, how did you then overcome that anxiety and become a very confident player who becomes the best in your team and become the best spiker of that time?
Okay. I actually found myself when I joined Spikers team.
Yeah.
That team groomed me. I used to have low self-esteem and not believing in myself. And I actually have these 2 people, Coach Ali and Sis Matlat. They used to tell me, "Tipso, you can do it. You're strong, you can do it." And I was like, I know. It's like, no, it's not time for you to be soft now. It's time for you to believe in yourself and play your part. We all make mistakes in the game. But then after making that mistake, make sure that you correct it. So that's how I also started grooming myself also in a way that every mistake that I make, I must make sure that I fix it.
Yeah.
At practice, in the game, I fix it. Yes, and then that's how I became so confident this nowadays in playing volleyball.
Yeah. And I think that's powerful because you look at your own mistakes and not despair, you know, and think we can fix this and just move forward with it. And that is amazing. But now I want us to talk about how you now break into the national team from where. So was it from Spikers straight into the national team, or there was another team before that?
No, it was Spikers and straight to the national team.
Now tell us about that achievement and that victory. How, because it's amazing for me, someone who joins volleyball almost accidentally now ends up in the South African volleyball team. How did that selection happen, and what is it about you that made you qualify, to be selected for the national team?
First of all, I believe that discipline
Mm.
can get you everywhere or anywhere,
Mm.
and you can be a very, very good player, but then without discipline, you won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I was chosen is because of I'm disciplined, and I also love volleyball, and I'm good at it, But then back then, I couldn't tell you that I'm good at volleyball because I was a bit low of myself. And then there was this other time I was actually worried of me not going to LA for my singing career thingy. And
Okay. So you are a singer, and at the same time you're pursuing volleyball.
Yes.
You have stuff that you are up to in your singing career, and stuff that's happening in your volleyball at the same time.
Yes.
So you missed out on an opportunity to go to LA at the same time that you were busy with volleyball.
Yes.
That's, yeah. But how did that disturb your volleyball playing and your performance and your focus? Were you distracted?
Not really. I was not distracted. I was actually excited because the national team told us that they're gonna give us money for our passports, and they're gonna pay for everything, and then we're going to get an allowance. I was like, okay, so this one is actually much better because the LA one, I was going to pay for my transportation, I was going to pay for everything else. And I was like, okay, I think this is actually the path that God chose for me. Because sometimes we think that the path that we want, it's going to prosper. But then the one that God planned prospers the most, right? Yes. And then that's when I was like, okay, God, I thank you for this one, and I'm going to go for this one. And I just went for the national team one,
Wow.
And I was so excited. Like, I remember I even cried tears. I was like, God, I wanted a trip whereby I was going to pay a lot of money, and then you gave me this lovely one whereby I'm not gonna pay anything, not even any cent at all. And that's how it began.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. And so we will talk about your experience in the national team, and then we will wrap it up from there. But for now, I just want us to take a very short break, and then we will be back and explore. Welcome back, and so we carry on exploring the amazing and extraordinary journey of Tshepiso Makwembela. And my favorite part, I think, and this is where I want to get as much information as possible. So you get into the national team, and your journey as a national team player begins. How big a moment is that for you as a black child who never even thought would one day become a volleyball player, let alone becoming part of the South African national team?
It was actually amazing when I heard that I'm part of the national volleyball team. But then at first, when they called me and told me that I'm chosen, I was like, is this a scam? Are you guys talking to the right person? They're like, yes, we are looking for Tshepiso Makwembela.
You didn't go for any trials? It's not like you went for trials and they're saying we are selecting national team players, come, and then they tell you whether you passed or failed. It's just a phone call.
Yes, because they were choosing from teams.
Yeah.
So they were choosing best players from a team. So when they chose me, I was like, are you actually really talking to the right person right now? They're like, yes, we are talking to the right person. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually amazing. And I felt like I was dreaming that time, because on a Sunday I got a prophecy that I'm going to play outside the country with my talent. So in my head, I thought of netball or singing, because that was the main goal for me. That part was just for my singing career. And in my head, I was just thinking about that. And then on Monday, I got a call about this whole thing of me joining the national volleyball team. You know, it was so exciting. But then at first I didn't want to tell my parents because I was like, what if they spoke to the wrong person? What if it's not me?
It was too good to be true
exactly,
for you.
You know.
Yeah.
But then at the end, I ended up accepting it and thanking God for that opportunity, and I used it wisely. You know. So, and it also taught me that I mustn't let people's how can I call it, like people's action towards me or negative energy to affect me, because I used to listen to people a lot tell me that you can't play, you can't do it, but you're not bad, but then you're good. But then from that moment I was like, if I am chosen, that means I am the chosen one and I can play, and I am the best player ever. And then from there onwards I just enjoyed my journey.
Your first time representing the national team, do you have any fond memories of that? What was your first game? What competition was it? And how did you do in that game?
Okay. I remember my first trip going to Sandton for the camping.
Yeah.
I've never been to Sandton. That was the first time going there. And I was like, God, this is amazing. And I was going with this other bus. What's that name again? Greyhound bus.
Yes.
I was like, Pella, this one is the VIP bus. Not everyone gets inside here. And it was actually free also for me, you know. And I enjoyed every moment. And then we left and we went to China after some few days. And then we went to China. When we got there, we went to Guangzhou, by the way. We went to Guangzhou in China.
Yeah.
It's another province. And then when we got there...
You didn't go to Wuhan?
No. Yes, and then when we got there, they showed us our place, the hotel and everything, and then fine. And then when we got to the thingy, what do you call it? Like to the hall, to the volleyball hall where we play volleyball. We saw this giant people. And then when I look at myself, I'm like, Pella, in the team right now, I'm the shortest. And what about them? Like when I look at them and I look at that, like the other teams, those people are very tall. You know, so as you mentioned that you thought that volleyball is for tall people. Yes, outside there it is for tall people. Being short, you're not standing a chance. You know. Hey, coach just told me that this one, she's very short for these players. But then I played my first game towards the end. I didn't play when it was rough there. And then coach was like, you know what, just get in and experience it. You know, it's not all about winning, but then it's all about experience and learning. You know, I was like, yeah, and then I got in, like that was nice, but then traumatic at the same time because I'm in this court with this tall people, this giants, and it was actually amazing. Like watching them also playing, it also taught me something that whether you're short or you're tall, you can do it. You know, yeah.
And how did our national team do in that competition?
It was fire. It was fire. You know, looking at short people, like we're like this, guys. Maybe even like this. You know. But then we tried our best. Like we played our best and we did our best, and we put our all. You know, win or lose. It was just
I already know what the result was.
Exactly.
But wow, I think that's a really amazing. I want to touch, because I always love to get political about issues, and I want to touch on a very critical aspect. This is the women's volleyball team we're talking about, right? And I look at South African sports in general, all national teams, our rugby team, our male rugby team, and male footballing team, and some of the things that are happening that we as South Africans are not entirely happy about. I listen to the likes of Portia Modise, Veronica Pewa, who played in the Banyana team. And these people tell us that, you know, they never got paid. And when I was growing up, Portia Modise was a superstar. in the national team. And obviously you would think that, someone who is in the national team is getting big amounts of money, they are rich, and they are flourishing. Only to find out that, I don't remember whether they were getting 2,000 rands or 5,000 rands per game, but it was not really a lot. And I felt like the gap that exists between the male team and the females, because these ones are getting, well, a lot of money and they are not winning much, and you get the females who are doing their best, but they're not getting any reward for it, something that they can show that I was part of the national team, and this is what I made out of it. Talk to us about your experience in the volleyball team, whether these issues that exist in the other national teams also an issue, when it comes to the national volleyball team, and how were you able to deal with some of these matters, or they didn't mean much to you?
For me, money didn't mean much to me that moment, It was just an outgoing thing for me. And when they told us that we're gonna get money, I'm like, how? Was here available, And they told us, no, you're gonna get your shares when we get to the camp, and everything is gonna be fine. And then when we got there, they told us, well, we're gonna get 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah.
And luckily I got sponsored. I forgot about that. I got sponsored by Mziki Lodge. So they gave me my share, And looking at that share, it was more than the volleyball share, the allowance.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me just be grateful.
Yeah.
At least I'm getting something.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing that is killing us nowadays is that at least I'm getting something. But then what about my talent? What about my hard work that I'm putting in?
Yeah.
I feel like it's unfair to not cherish my talent and say that I'm putting more effort. Pella, people outside there, like, as I saw the Chinese people out there and the Russians, when they play, they know that they're playing for money.
Yeah, there's a reward at the end, and the level of energy is just, it shows.
Yes, yeah. And then when you look at us, no, not to be, not to say it in another way, but then, I feel like if we knew that we were playing for 25,000, we wouldn't have relaxed or something, Maybe they were one team. And seeing all those people are playing with passion, I feel like if they took it that way in SA also, we were gonna be far. And then, seeing it right now, in our country, the most sports that they are cherishing, it's athletics, rugby, and soccer. And then what about other sports?
Sure.
Are we not recognized? Are we not enough? Or what's happening? Because some people take a volleyball as their job. But then if they don't get paid there, or they get smaller in amount, it's not enough for them. They still have a family to take care of, and they still have a future to take care of themselves also.
Well, that is the truth. Well, one thing I can tell you for sure, you got more than what Portia Modise got. But I think this is a serious matter that we need to look at. Not only the unfair treatment of sports people, but women in sports as well, because there's a very huge gap that exists between the males and the females. Did you know how much you were playing for? If you had won the tournament, is that information that was made clear, or you just went to play?
We just went to play.
So you go to a tournament, and obviously when you win, there's prize money, but you were not really aware of how much. Did you sign any contracts that showed you how much you're gonna get for winning, how much you're gonna get for playing?
For playing, yes, that was that 5,000 rand that I told you about. But then for us winning, didn't know anything. We just went, played, and came back.
And do you think this is something that is still happening now? And for you, is it something that needs to change? And what is it that you think can be done to change it?
For me, I think we have to be treated equally.
Yeah.
You know, not saying, this one is a man, this one is a female. Men must get more income than the ladies, you know. And for us to change it, I don't know. I don't know. Like,
Do you think people were, well, maybe at the time people were not angry enough about it because first opportunity and you get to travel overseas, and but wasn't there a time where people started questioning how things are done and why they are not getting this? Why do you feel like people were angry enough about it, or all that excitement just, you know?
And there were some moments whereby everyone was saying they're getting a little income, you know. Some people are getting 13,000, others are getting 25 and whatnot. But then for me that time, as I told you, it didn't matter, you know. But then now, since like we are talking about this, and I also realized some other stuff also, I realized that they had the right to be angry. Because they're putting more effort. You know, they're leaving everything behind for volleyball, for the love of volleyball, but then we are not treated equally. I think the only thing that can change is just for us to be treated equally. And not to like weigh us our gender. This one is a female, this one is a male, you know.
Well, that is true, and I think these are some of the injustices that we need to continue to fight against. You know, we can't just talk about women empowerment as a concept. We need to realize it, we need to practice it, we need to see women in our society empowered, and we cannot continue to have these injustices where, you know, people are not treated the same based on their gender. We know the issue of racism. We as black people are obviously not treated the same. And now when you look at it, it's hard being black in South Africa, but it's even harder being a black woman. So, you know, for someone who was as excellent as Tsepiso, she's not anywhere close to what Fikile Mbalula once described as a bunch of losers. That is the Bafana national team. I'm not calling them that, but I'm just saying, you know, a team that has given us nothing for a very long time, failing to qualify for competitions and all of that. But these are the people that are, you know, right at the top. This is something that needs to change, but we will continue to have these conversations about injustices because we cannot afford to be silent about them. But let's come back to you.
Okay.
And where you are at the moment as we try to wrap it up, where you are with your volleyball career, what are your ambitions, what are your dreams and goals as far as your volleyball career is concerned?
Right now I'm playing for TUT volleyball team, and we had some few games, you know, where I enjoyed, and I'm also learning a lot from this team. You know, they love each other, they support each other. You know, if you're down, they pick you up, say you can do this, you can do that. You know, and then it's actually the best team that I've ever been to be honest. You know, and last year we had a tournament where we played for the National Volleyball League. You know, whereby every province came to Gauteng, and then we had a tournament, you know. And eventually, we were actually the first, what do we call this? We were at the first position.
You won the competition?
Yes, we won the competition. And
the TUT, that's the TUT team?
The TUT team, you know. So I'm learning a lot in that team, you know, and yeah, I just hope that as time goes on, I'm also going to see myself being in the first six all the time. Because like sometimes not being in the first six, you're like, okay. I just hope and wish that I will get a chance, you know, and then sometimes you don't get a chance. So now comes discipline. If coach doesn't put you in the first six, are you going to get angry? Are you going to leave volleyball? Or are you going to work harder and make sure that you achieve what you want in life? you know. So since I want to be on top there with volleyball, I always tell myself that even if I don't get into the first 6, one day I'm gonna be there, and then I'm gonna make sure that I don't move. I'm gonna be in the first 6 until I don't know until when, but then yeah.
And that is amazing for me, because you talk about, you know, the first 6, and you were able to be part of a national team out of millions of people that could have been selected, but you are, you know, part of that few that get selected to represent the South African national team. And I think that is an outstanding achievement for me, something that is, you know, worth celebrating. So as far as national team is concerned, are you still in the national team? Does the national team still exist? You know, do you have competitions that you are going into, or you are not in the national team at the moment?
I'm not in the national team at the moment, because that time I was in the junior team.
Oh, okay.
You know, and so the following year I was being a senior, so I couldn't go back again. So I had to go to trials for senior team and everything. But then I couldn't because I had some other things to do. So at the meantime, I was just focusing on being in the teams and also playing for provincials only. You know, but then I wish and hope to be in the national team again. You know, after this coronavirus thing, I'll have to go back again, work hard, practice hard, and make sure that I make it into the team.
Well, that is amazing, and yeah, we really do wish you all the best. And what is it, as we, you know, try and wrap it up, what is it that you are currently busy with, other ambitions? You mentioned a lot of things, you know, you could have went abroad for singing competitions and all of that. So school, other ambitions that you have, what are you currently busy with?
Oh, currently I'm busy with my diploma in IT, software development. And I actually find it interesting, you know. And the other thing that I'm busy with is singing, my singing career, you know. I have some few songs released also, and yeah, for now that's it. And I'm also a fitness coach at the same time, helping people here and there, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's really amazing. So what's your advice to, I'm not going to narrow it down to volleyball, but to a black child out there who wants to realize their dream, you know, be it in sports or whatever walk of life, whatever aspect of life, someone who has never even imagined that they have the potential to make it all the way to the top. Like, out of your own story, what is your message of encouragement to a fellow black child who is full of dreams out there?
Okay, for me, you know, growing up, I didn't have the full support, whereby someone can come and tell me, hey, no, wake up. We have to go and do this and do that. You don't need someone to be where you want to be. You first have to believe in yourself and love yourself and make sure that you work hard. And always remember that nothing is impossible as long as you are under the sun. You know? So keep on encouraging yourself. Not everyone is going to be there for you. And especially close people. They're not going to be there for you. You will be surprised how you are being helped by strangers than people that are supposed to help you, whom are close to you. You know. So every time, just give yourself that positivity. Encourage yourself most of the time. When you fall, get up. And nobody's perfect. But then when you try to push yourself, you're going to get there. Yes.
Tshepiso Makwimvila, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for coming to the Blacknificent show. And I hope many of us are inspired by your story of how you made it all the way to the top. And, you know, as we live our own lives, we can draw inspiration from the success of another black child, to show that, you know, we can rise and we can become what we want to become, because this is possible. And we've decided in this platform that we are going to continuously share these success stories, because there aren't that many platforms, you know, that spotlight black excellence for us. So we're going to do it for ourselves. And I hope we learned a lot today from the story of Tshepiso. and it's gonna inspire us. We will be back again next week. You know where to find us. It's the Blacknificent Show on Arise Black Child Facebook page. We are also on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have a Blacknificent week ahead.